Good morning, boys and girls. We are on to chapter 6 in Number the Stars, where we left off last. The Ellen was at Amory's, and a Nazi officer, came to the door and looked in there, and they were very worried. I think they ended up okay. We're going to see where we go from there. All right, chapter 6 is the weather good for fishing? We must think what to do, Papa said. They're suspicious now. To be honest, I think that if they came here at all, and I hoped they wouldn't, that they would just glance around, see that we had no place to hide anyone, and would go away. I'm sorry I have dark hair, Ellen murmured. It made them suspicious. Mama reached over quickly and took Ellen's hand. You have beautiful hair, Ellen, just like your mama's, she said. Don't ever be sorry for that. Weren't we lucky that Papa thought so quickly and found the pictures? And weren't we lucky that Lise had dark hair when she was a baby? Turned blonde later on when she was 2 or so. In between, Papa said. Papa added, she was bald for a while. Ellen and Amory both smiled tentatively. For a moment, their fear had ceased. Tonight was the first time Anne-Marie realized, suddenly, that Mama and Papa had spoken of Lise. The first time in 3 years. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten. Mrs. Johansson went to the kitchen and began to make tea. I've never been up so early before, Anne-Marie said. Ellen and I probably fall asleep in school. We'll probably fall asleep in school today. Papa rubbed his chin for a moment, thinking, I think we must not take the risk of sending you to school today, he said. It's possible that they will look for the Jewish children in the schools. Not go to school? Ellen asked in amazement. My parents have always told me that education is the most important thing. Whatever happens, I must get an education. This will only be a vacation, Ellen. For now, your safety is the most important thing. I'm sure your parents would agree. Inga, Papa called Mama in the kitchen, and she came to the doorway with a teacup in her hand and questioning look in her face. Yes, we must take the girls to Henrique's. You remember what Peter had told us. I think today is the day to go to your brother's. Mrs. Johansson nodded. I think you are right, but I will take them. You must stay here. Stay here and let you go alone? Of course not. I will not send you into a dangerous trip alone. Mama put a hand on Papa's arm. If only I go with the girls, it would be safer. They are unlikely to suspect a woman and her children. But if they are watching us, if they see us leave, if they are aware the apartment is empty, that you don't go to your office this morning, then they will know. Then it will be dangerous. I'm not afraid to go alone. It was very seldom that Mama disagreed with Papa. Amory watched his face and knew that he was struggling with the decision. Finally, he nodded, reluctantly. I will pack some things, Mama said. What time is it? Papa looked at his watch. Almost 5, he said. Henrique will still be there. He leaves around 5. Why don't you call him? Papa went to the telephone. Ellen looked puzzled. Who is Henrique? Where does he go at 5 in the morning? She asked. Emery laughed. He's my uncle, my mother's brother, and he's a fisherman. They leave very early, all the fishermen. Each morning their boats go out at sunrise. Oh, Ellen, she went on, you will love it there. It is where my grandparents lived, where Mama and Uncle Henry grew up. It is so beautiful right on the water. You can stand on the edge of the meadow and look across to Sweden. She listened while Papa spoke on the phone to Uncle Henrique, telling him that Mama and the children were coming for a visit. Ellen had gone into the bathroom and closed the door. Mama was still in the kitchen, so only Anne Marie was listening. It was a very puzzling conversation. So, Henrique, is the weather good for fishing? Papa asked cheerfully and listened briefly. Then he continued, I'm sending Inga to you today with the children, and she will be bringing you a carton of cigarettes. Yes, just one, he said. After a moment, Anne-Marie couldn't hear Uncle Henrique's words. But there are a lot of cigarettes available in Copenhagen now, if you know where to look, he went on. And so there will be others coming to you as well, I'm sure. I wonder what that was about. But it wasn't true. Anne-Marie was quite certain it wasn't true. Cigarettes were the thing that Papa missed, the way Mama missed coffee. He complained often. He had complained only yesterday that there were no cigarettes in the stores. Men in his office, he said, making a face, smoked almost anything, sometimes dried weeds rolled in paper, and smell was terrible. Why was Papa speaking that way, almost as if he were speaking in code? What was Mama really taking to Uncle Henrique? Then she knew. Who's Alan? All right. Now there's a quick break, and then they jump on a train. The train ride north along the Danish coast was very beautiful. Again and again, they could see the sea from the windows. Anne Marie had made this trip often to see her grandparents when they were alive, and later, after they were gone, to see their cheerful, sun-tanned uncle, unmarried uncle, whom she loved. But the trip was new to Ellen, who sat with her face pressed to the window, watching the lovely homes along the seaside, the small farms and villages. Look, Emery exclaimed, and pointed to the opposite side. It's Klampenberg and the deer park. Oh, I wish we could stop there just for a little while. Mamma shook her head. Not today, she said. The train did not stop at the small Klampenborg station, but none of the did stop at the small Clopenborg station, but none of the few passengers got off. Have you ever been there before, Ellen? Mama asked, but Ellen said no. Well, someday you will go. Someday you will walk through the park and you will see hundreds of deer, tame and free. Kirsty wriggled her knees and peered through the window. I don't see any deer, she complained. They are there, I'm sure, Mama told her. They're hiding in the trees. The train started again. The door at the end of the car opened, and two German soldiers appeared. Anne-Marie tensed. Not here on the train, too. They were everywhere. Together, the soldiers strolled through the car, glancing at passengers, stopping here and there to ask a question. One of them had something stuck in his teeth. He probed with his tongue and distorted his own face. Emery watched with kind of frightened fascination as the pair approached. One of the soldiers looked down with a bored expression on his face. Where are you going? He asked. Galilee, Mama replied calmly. My brother lives there. We are going to visit him. Soldier turned away and Anne-Marie relaxed. Then, without warning, he turned back. Are you visiting your brother for the New Year? He asked suddenly. Mama stared at him with a puzzled look. New Year, she asked. It is only October. And guess what? Kirsty exclaimed suddenly in a loud voice, looking at the soldier. Anne-Marie's heart sank, and she looked at her mother. Mama's eyes were frightened. Shh! Don't chatter so. But Kirsty paid no attention to Mama. As usual, she looked cheerfully at the soldier, and Emery knew what she was about to say. This is our friend Ellen. It is her New Year. But she did not. Instead, Kirsty pointed at her feet. I'm going to see my Uncle Henrique, she chirped, and I'm wearing my brand new shiny black shoes. Soldier chuckled and moved on. Emery gazed through the window again. The trees, the Baltic Sea, the cloudy October sky passed in a blur as they continued north along the coast. Smell the air, Mama said as they stepped off the train and made their way to the narrow street. Isn't it lovely and fresh? It always brings me back memories. The air was breezy and cool and carried the sharp, not unpleasant smell of salt and fish. High against the pale clouds, seagulls soared and cried out as they were mourning. Mamma looked at her watch. Wonder if Henrique will be back today. Back yet. But it doesn't matter. The house is always unlocked. Come on, girls, we'll walk. It isn't far, just a little under 2 miles. It's a nice day. We'll take the path through the woods instead of the road. It's a little longer, but so pretty. Didn't you love the castle that when we went through Helen's score? Ellen, Kirsty asked. She had been talking about Kronborg Castle ever since they had seen it, sprawling, massive, and ancient beside the sea from the train. I wish we could have stopped there to visit the castle. Kings lived there, and queens. Emery sighed in exasperation with her little sister. They do not, she said. They did in the old days, but there aren't kings there now. Denmark has only one king anyway, and he lives in Copenhagen. But Kirsty had pranced away, skipping along the sidewalks. Kings and queens, she sang happily. Kings and queens. Mamma shrugged and smiled. Let her dream, Emery. I did the same when I was her age. She turned, leading the way along a tiny twisting street, heading towards the outskirts of the village. Things had hardly changed since I was a girl, she said. My Aunt Giddy lived here in that house, she pointed. She's been dead for years. But that house is the same. She always had the wonderful flowers in the garden. She peered over the low stone wall and looked at the few flowering bushes as they had passed the house. Maybe they still do, but it's the wrong time of year. They are just those flowers left. And see over there, she pointed again. My best friend, her name is Helena, lived there in that house. Sometimes I used to spend the night with her, but more often she'd come to my house on weekends. It was more fun to be in the country. My brother Henrique always teased us, though, she continued with a chuckle. He told us ghost stories and scared us half to death. The sidewalk ended, and Mamma turned onto a dark path bordered by trees. When I walked along each morning into town for school, she said, my dog followed me this far. At the end of the path, he turned and went back home. I guess he was a country dog and didn't like town. And do you know what? She went on smiling. I had named him Crowfast, Faithful, and it was just the first right name for him because what a faithful dog he was. Every afternoon, he was always right here waiting for me to return. He knew the right time, somehow, sometimes, as I came round this corner bend. Even today, I feel as if he might come upon Crowfast, waiting still with his tail wagging. But the path was empty today. No people, no faithful dogs. Mamma shifted the bag she was carrying from one hand to the other, and they walked through the woods until the path opened in a meadow dotted with cows. Here the path skirted the edge of the field along the fence, and beyond it they could see the gray sea ruffled by wind. The breeze moved the high grass. At the end of the pasture they entered the woods again, and Emery knew they would soon be there. Uncle Henrique's house was a clearing behind the woods. Do you mind if I run ahead? She asked suddenly. I want to be the first to see the house. Go on, Mamma told her. Run ahead and tell the house we've come home. Then she put her arm around Ellen's shoulders and added, say that we've brought a friend. All right, and that was chapter 6. And chapter 7 is The House by the Sea. So we'll see where this goes. All right, until next time. And I will be having questions coming up for you guys. Okay. All right, take care.